Hello, my lovelies. Today we will read Poseidon's Prodigy, Cast Adrift. This is the second book by Striker Sky in the first disowned Child of the Gods. Chapter 1. The 600th floor and the song Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head played in the background. There were so many emotions running through me, and I waited and waited and waited for the elevator to go up. I wished Castor and Pollux could have joined me, but they had helped me so much on this trip, and were with me each step of the way. When I cried, it was Castor to cheer me up. When I was afraid, it was Pollux who always promised to protect me. I owed them everything, and once this quest was over, I wanted to show them how much they meant to me. Oddly enough, I think I missed my dad the most. It was his blessings that saved me, proving that he was listening whenever I threw my blue candy into the fire instead of my stomach. It made me wonder if he would be proud of me. I still regretted not being able to save my mum, but after this, I would go and rescue her next. It was a promise. My dad promised he'd be here when the quest was over. Don't worry, your dad will be there waiting for you. I could hear his voice in my head, and was sure he would be. The door dinged, and there was clouds, not to mention a long hallway. I walked inside, down the path it made for me. I was here, at Mount Olympus, with the lightning bolt basically almost home, and I found it. The throne room. Most of the gods sat on their thrones, and immediately I looked for my dad, with a can of Diet Coke in his hand, and maybe even a smile on his face, to welcome me. But on his chair, where Dionysus should have been, the throne was empty, and I was sure it was his due to it being decorated with grapes and strawberries, as well as a cup that looked like an exact replica of mine was resting on the arm. A man standing close by it almost seemed to be looking at that spot. His soft brown eyes catching mine, I looked away, biting my lip, thinking that was late, and I would have to do this all on my own. All the gods and goddesses had serious expressions on their faces, all but one, and I looked down. I saw the god with tanned skin, black hair, and finally, eyes that reminded me of the ocean. And he had smiled down at me, almost like he was proud. I looked to the place my dad was supposed to be sitting and found me with disappointment, and was full with disappointment. All there was an empty throne. My heart raced as I tried to speak. Should you not speak to the master of this house, boy? And that was the "you're in trouble" voice I had heard many times before. It had to be Zeus. "Peace, brother," the smiling god added. "Then you admit and claim this child?" Confused, I listened. Claimed? "I admit any wrongdoings," the one smiling god added. "I should have blasted the boy out of the sky," Zeus spat, and I winced, thinking, wow, I could have really died if I flew by plane. "And risk destroying your boat?" Poseidon asked. "I shall listen, then decide if I am to cast him out of Olympus," Zeus agreed. Fear gripped at me, and I never knew this would be so hard. "Perseus, look at me," Poseidon asked. I didn't understand why it was him asking me questions, nor why it was him who seemed to be on my side when it should have been my dad. He clearly had no idea what to think of me, nor did he express any kind of emotions on his face as I took a breath, holding on tight to the cup in my hand to remind me my dad was on my side. "Address not Zeus, boy. Tell him your story." It was better to get it all over with, as I told them of Ares, Luke, the quest, my mom. And finally, when my tale ended, I sensed the boy tells the truth was Zeus' call. He is proud and impulsive. It runs in the family. I held back a glare at Poseidon for insulting my dad like that. He may have been a questionable dad, but he cared. You have done me a great service, boy. It wasn't just me, it was also Castor, Pollux, Rowan, and Anne. He cut me off before I could finish. To show you my thanks, I shall spare your life. I do not like you, Percy Jackson, nor do I like what your arrival means for Olympus, but for the sake of family and peace, I shall let you live. And I was supposed to be thankful for that? Thank you, I said instead of risking his anger, but don't let me catch you in the sky, otherwise you shall taste this sport. Zeus was quick to exit. Something about getting human sink off it. Rude. I looked again for my dad, as all the gods and goddesses left, leaving just me and Poseidon. Your uncle always had a thing for dramatics. I always thought he would do well in theatre. Oh, I replied. So is my dad going to show up? I asked, and the god's face was confused. I tried not to think so hard about him. Your dad? He asked. I nodded. You know, the god of wine, who drinks 2 drinks in on Diet Coke. Poseidon looked upset, and I was quickly to defend myself. It's just, I was told once I finished the quest, my dad would be here. Poseidon ground his teeth before he forced out a smile. And he is. I am your father, Percy. Confused, I laughed awkwardly. No, my dad claimed me. He should not have done so. It was not his right. But I still didn't believe him. Your mother is a queen among mortals. I have not met anyone like her in 1,000 years. And it was then I knew he really was. He was my dad. Then? Did that mean you let me think I was Dionysus' kid? I had blamed him for so much, but while my real dad was denying my existence, it was really him I should be angry at. It was for your protection, and I wanted to scream. It was because of him I had to fight a Minotaur, lose my mom in the first place, and now he wanted to claim me when I had brought back glory. Ignoring doesn't always mean indifference, Percy. Sometimes it's a way of protecting them. I frowned, puzzled by his cryptic response. Protecting from what? From expectations, responsibilities, and the burdens that come with being recognized, by being acknowledged by the demigod. Brings its own set of challenges. Some might argue it's better to remain unnoticed. And I felt myself go red. Yeah, you're right, I smiled before I turned into ugly rage. He cared, unlike you. And in that moment, it felt as if I fell in the middle of a storm. Dionysus took care of me while you were living the high life in Olympus. Lucky me, my father shows his care by ignoring the crap out of me. I swore. I raised my finger at him. Where were you when I almost drowned? How about when I was stabbed? Oh, and let's not forget, you never even bothered to claim me as your son. Poseidon's anger surged like a tempest, and I could feel the waves of his fury crashing down on me. The air crackled with tension, and I found myself shrinking under his intense gaze. You are no child of mine, Poseidon roared, his voice echoing through the throne room. I trembled, fear gripping as I realized the gravity of his disappointment. I didn't ask for any of this. I just wanted to know my dad. Now he wanted to be a part of my life, I stammered, my voice barely audible against the roaring storm within Poseidon. He glared at me with eyes that mirrored the raging sea. You are no longer my son. I disown you, Percy Jackson. You are not welcome amongst the gods of Olympus. His words felt like a tsunami crushing over me, leaving me battered and broken. I felt a lump in my throat and tears welled up in my eyes as I faced the rejection, and of the one person I thought would always be there for me. But what about my mum? Is she safe? I managed to choke out, my voice trembling. Poseidon's anger seemed to momentarily relent, replaced by a sullen sadness. Your mother is safe. I will ensure her well-being, but you are no longer under my protection. You must find your own path now, Percy Jackson. He dropped a single pearl. The weight of his disownment pressed down on me, and I felt adrift in a vast and turbulent sea of uncertainty. My heart raced, and the once familiar world of gods and demigods crumbled around me, leaving only the cold realization that I was truly alone. Before the world around me vanished and I was back in front of Camp Half-Blood, still covered in dirt, blood, and a whole week's worth of no showers, but I was back, and now I had nowhere I belonged. Not as Poseidon's son, not as Dionysus' kid either. I felt tears down my cheeks. I didn't belong in Camp Half-Blood. The place that once felt like home now seemed like a cold and distant refuge, and I stood there, lost and abandoned. I stood at the tree, a symbol of the child of Zeus, unsure of what I could do next. Percy, a voice called out to me in surprise. That is a D, I said, and Dionysus shrunk. He must have heard the news that I wasn't his son, and I envied the kids who got to have him as a dad. I'm not your kid, I admitted. I know, he told me, sadly. Are you going to disown me too? And he roughly replied, after that show, nah. Immediately embarrassed, you saw? Dionysus sat beside me, rubbing my back. Sorry I couldn't be with you, kid, but I thought you might want your real dad, not me. Why? Why did you claim me? It was a mistake. My heart hurt, knowing he too didn't want me. An arm on the back of his head as he smiled. At first, but to be honest, kid, you fitted well in cabin 12. Dionysus continued to rub my back in a comforting manner. You may not be my kid by blood, Percy, but you've proven yourself in ways that go beyond parentage. You brought honor and glory to cabin 12, and the camp as a whole, you being there, even if I didn't see you. I looked up at him, confusion evident in my eyes. You're not so bad, Mr. D. Dad, he reminded me, managing a faint smile. Well, don't go spreading that around. It ruins my reputation. I laughed lightly. Thanks, Dad. I realized in a quick moment, like forgetting to lock the door when you're out of the house. Wait, what about Castor, Pollux, Screw, and Annabeth? I got them. After the mission was over, I picked them up. I breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. Can I go see them? Dionysus patted my head. Of course, kid. I'll come after you. I walked on ahead, the weight of recent events still heavy on my shoulders, but with a newfound sense of reassurance. You're all taking a bath after, he yelled at me, and I felt lucky having an adopted dad, because maybe it was better he chose me after all, and there would be no take-backs. So that was chapter 1. I hope you will join me for chapter 2. Bye-bye.